Congress is sparring over coronavirus relief and what the next stage should look like. The White House has asked lawmakers to provide additional funding for the Paycheck Protection Program. The initiative aims to keep small businesses afloat. It was part of the $2 trillion stimulus package enacted last month. However, Republicans and Democrats are now clashing over how to keep that effort going. Senator Mike Braun joins me now. And Senator Braun, it is really good to see you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me on.
So, Senator, last week, Senate Democrats blocked a $250 billion standalone bill that would have provided additional funding for small businesses. What realistically are the next steps the chamber is weighing to get small businesses more relief?
So that should have been a relatively simple thing. It was reminiscent of the Phase 3 package trying to get across the finish line roughly 3 weeks ago when we had that 3-day delay because of all the extraneous items that were policy related. Here, I think that the payment protection plan, that is such a popular program. The kind of need for it is broad and deep in the small business community. I mean, I come from that world. I was hoping that was going to be a simple unanimous consent vote, but apparently not. So I'm not sure when we'll get to it. We're not at the point where you really have to have it because we haven't gone through the original $350 billion. But if you kind of extrapolate what we will need here soon, it looks like that will come up short the original amount. That's why we had that teed up.
Well, what do you say to the Democrats' argument that there are other places, not just small businesses, like states and hospitals, that need additional money too?
Well, that is what held up the last bill, and we did state and local governments and hospitals added a lot to each one of those categories. And I think here, we didn't know what the exact amounts would be that were needed. And I think that could come into a broader discussion, but we're also, Elaine, getting at the point where some of the toughest decisions are ahead of us. And President Trump announcing the task force of business leaders and healthcare entrepreneurs, I think is going to be the most difficult decision that we do confront, because I don't know how many times you can come back to the federal government to try to replace the real economy. And we will have to take a little risk on restarting in a smart way where you have sparsely populated areas and where you didn't have high incidence of the disease in the first place. That's going to be trickier, I think, than what we did through government to try to mitigate things.
Do you envision, Senator, places like your own state there of Indiana, where you do have wide swaths of rural areas, being among those first places to, quote unquote, reopen?
So it's going to be up to each governor. I think the president's going to set the tone generally across the country. I know here we extended the original shutdown for non-essential businesses and what essential businesses could do. They modified it last week to make sure that many small businesses could do curbside or takeout, like clothing stores, gift stores, any store that was completely shut down. I thought that was a smart way to kind of test the waters. And more broadly, we'll have that big day of decision on April 21st. And the governor does a news conference often, was talking about, will he be able to open things up or not? I think it remains to be seen. We're having pretty good luck tamping the disease down. And I think many other states like ours that are more rural in nature would be the places where you start reopening.
Well, back on the Paycheck Protection Program, White House Economic Advisor Larry Kudlow has said the program will run out by Friday. The Senate won't reconvene until Thursday. How optimistic are you that a deal can be struck in time?
Well, I think that's solely up to the Democrats on this one. Clearly, without our being there, and D.C. is forecast as an area that's going to be behind a lot of the East Coast in terms of when it peaks there. I think they're, playing a dangerous game here, because we've got to have some method of being able to talk among ourselves or be back there for a phase 4 This was just plussing up on one part of it that's been heavily subscribed to. And I think the Democrats will have to explain why we can't do that through unanimous consent as a technique when you don't have to have many people there to get it done.
All right, Senator Mike Braun. Senator, thank you again for joining us.
You're welcome.